little heads up. The last formula we're going to look at for sequences and series is scary looking. It's not that scary when you use it, but at first you're going to be like, what? I just need you to like keep the tension in the room down a little bit. It's not that bad once you actually put it into your calculator. The geometric series is the sums of the term in a geometric sequence. So for example, 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8, dot, dot, dot. Write down any geometric sequence except the one that I gave you above. Write down any geometric sequence. Make up your own geometric sequence. Share yours with someone sitting around you, a little high five if they have a geometric sequence and you have a geometric sequence. Turn your sequence into a series. Turn your sequence into a series. Show someone, let them see your sequence or your series. To find the sum of a geometric series, you need the formula Sn equals T1, open bracket, r to the n, and then minus 1 down in the main formula, not part of the exponent. T1, bracket n to the r, then minus 1 in close bracket. Oh, but that's just the numerator. On the bottom, there's an r minus 1. I told you.
Wait, can you just like cancel them out?
But this has an exponent, so we can't cancel. So just I want to make sure it's very clear because the last formula has an n minus 1 in the exponent. The minus 1 is down in the main formula. It's r to the n and then minus 1 from that value. Again, I told you it's a little scary first, but it's not too bad. Do you have your paper? Do you have the title on your paper? Again, example 1 is a straightforward, just find a sum question, nothing tricky yet. So find the sum of the first 9 terms for this geometric series, 27 plus 9 plus 3, dot, dot, dot. We want S9, sum of the first 9 terms. T1 is given as 27. R, how do we find R? Take any term and divide by the previous. So you don't have to show it, but I'm just going to show you off to the side where it's coming from. Do you want to use 9 or do you want to use 3? 3? Okay, divide by the previous term. What's the previous term? Reduce 9 on 3. 1/3. So I'm going to bracket it because it's a fraction and I need that exponent to apply to both the top and the bottom. What would you like to write it as? The only problem with that is you can't round it off, so you have to put 0.3333333 to infinity. If you round it to 0.3, then your final will be off. Did that answer your question? N is 9, so just like before, whatever n is on the left, n is also on the right. Then make sure that minus 1 is down in the main equation. It's not 9 minus 1 is an exponent. It's minus 1 off the value. And on the bottom, we're going to have 1/3 minus 1. You don't technically need the brackets on the bottom. I just like to bracket R wherever I put it, so then I'm not like brackets or no brackets. I just bracket it. The easiest way to plug this into your calculator is to bracket the top and bracket the bottom. Now, if you have the new operating system, and you'll know because when you go to do a fraction, it actually gives you a nice little fraction with a box on the top and a box on the bottom. You don't technically need those brackets. They're not going to hurt if you put them in. If you have the old operating system, that's when it just gives you a slash for a fraction. You must have those brackets. So I just always bracket the top, bracket the bottom, and then I don't wonder, do I not? So just to repeat, I always bracket the R, and I always double bracket, so bracket everything on the top, everything on the bottom. So this is what you're going to type in. You're going to open a bracket. 27. Open a bracket. Open a bracket. 1 divided by 3. Close the bracket. Hat key 9. And then if you have the new operating system, drop down from the exponent. Minus 1. Close, close. That's just the top. I'm going to repeat that. Open bracket, 27. Open, open. 1 divided by 3, close. Hat key 9. Get out of the exponent if you have the new operating system. Minus 1, close, close. Then divide, open, open, 1 divided by 3, close, minus 1, close. The hardest thing about this is getting it into your calculator. So you just hit the arrow key and it should pop down back into the main equation, the right arrow key. Did that work? If you have the old operating system, you were just doing exactly what I typed in. One more time, or did you get it? Okay. So you're going right from the beginning. Open bracket 27, open, open, 1 divided by 3, close. Hat 9. If new operating system, hit the arrow to get out of the exponent, minus 1, close, close. Then division, open, open, 1 divided by 3, close, minus 1, close. Okay, let's check if it worked. What'd you get? 40.5, 40.50. If you didn't, then we need to fix it because it might be just you're missing one bracket. It could be one exponent. It could be anything. So I'm just going to repeat. You have to bracket that fraction on the top. The bottom doesn't matter. I just always bracket both because then it's not going to hurt if you put extra, but then you don't have to worry are you bracketing or not. If you have the new operating system, you technically don't need these brackets in red, but if you have the old operating system, you definitely need the brackets in red. Either way, I just bracket the top, bracket the bottom, then I don't need to worry. Extra brackets aren't going to matter on the new operating system. Did everyone get 40.5? Because the hardest part is just getting this into your calculator. See, not so scary. Not so scary. Example 2. Starting with a little word problem. I know, I don't like it either. Read to read, don't overthink, put the context in your head. What's it about? Yeah, crazy family tree, right? Something going on with generations. What do you need to know? You need 2, 4, and 8. In the grand scheme of things, as a mathematician, I don't care who these relatives are. What I need to know is what's the sequence we're dealing with, and it's 4, 6, and 8, or 2, 4, and 8. Now we need to find what are we trying to find? 5th generation, which is just T5. That's all it's asking. How many ancestors? S5, you're right, because how many in total? So this is the same thing as if I gave you this with the notation S5. See, when you take out the words, this is way more fun. I know. T1. Open bracket. R. So I don't need a brackets around that because it's not a fraction, it's just a whole number. If you're like, what? Just bracket it. It's not going to matter if you put extra brackets. But the reason I needed it up here is because that exponent had to apply to the top and the bottom. Here I just have one number. What's n? And then minus 1 in the main equation. So again, it's not 5 minus 1 in the exponent like the other formula. It's minus 1 in the main equation. And then on the bottom, still got the same r value, which will be 2 and minus 1. Now, if it's something easy like this on the bottom, don't feel you need to type in the bottom, because what's the bottom going to equal? 1. If you just wanted to get in the habit of typing in the bottom, then type it in. Either way, old operating system, you need to have these brackets. New, you don't, but it's not going to matter if you put them in. I probably would not type in the bottom because I can see 2 minus 1 is 1. Up to you how you want to do it. How many people in total on your family tree in 5 generations? I heard a 62. Again, if you didn't get that, it can be something as simple as one little bracket that you're missing. How are we feeling so far? Okay, so I'll read, you listen. Okay, so open bracket, 2, open bracket, 2 hat 5, come out of the exponent, minus 1, close, close, and then the bottom's not going to matter, so I would just hit enter after that. Okay, so just compare and just see what you missed. It can be one bracket, it can be one thing, just see what you missed from the last one. Because it's not, if you go back to the formula, it's not like this, like the old formula. It's in the main equation, and that's the difference between the two. Number 3. This is where the examples start to get a little bit trickier, and they're not just straightforward sum questions. There's something that's going to be different. So what is different about this question? Not necessarily Tn, because we don't need it in this formula. Not necessarily. We don't have n. That's the difference. If we go to this formula, we got nothing to put here. So this is a finding n question first. It's going to be a 2-stepper. We're going to somehow find n, and then we can use n to find the sum. How do you want to find n? Use the Tn formula. What is the Tn formula? T. And again, this has that minus 1 up in the exponent, unlike the second formula we're going to use that does not. Okay, how is this going to find n for us? Okay, we have the first term, so let's start with there. Let's put it in. What's the first term? Negative 1. Do we have anything else? We have the value of Tn. What's the last term in the sequence? Is there anything else that we have? Okay, how do we find r? Any term divided by the previous. N minus 1 we don't have. We did 3, as I put up 4 fingers. We did 3 examples like this yesterday. Does anyone remember what was our first step that we did after the formula? Divide by the negative 1. We didn't need to do it in the last 2 examples we did like this one, but what can I do with these negatives? I can cancel them. Mathematically, how can I do that? What am I doing to cancel them? Multiplying each side by negative 1 or dividing each side by negative 1. So I can just drop them because I know they're going to cancel. This is always the step people are like, ooh, I know we did something, but I can't remember what we did. Yeah, so this is that like guess and check on the calc. And what are we doing on the calc? What are we trying to find? So 4 to the what? 16,384. Here's a hint. It's not 1. It's not 2. It's not even going to be 3. We're looking at a bigger number. James? Ooh, he's already on it. Let's double check. Confirming 7. And then if you remembered that step, sometimes you get stuck on this step. People are like, ooh, I know we did something that I can't see from the notes what we did. So we drop the bases. Or we equate the exponents, whatever makes more sense in your head. So I'm going to say 7 equals n minus 1. How do I get rid of a minus 1? Plus 1, n equals 8. But great, we're not done. That was not what the question asked us. That was a lot of work, but we're not done. That's only step 1. What's step 2? Using the new formula, what are we trying to find? And we know n now is 8. T1, open bracket, r to the n, drop down, minus 1 in the main equation, and r minus 1 on the bottom. Which I didn't make you look, but do you think it's on your formula sheet? Yeah. Where do you think it might be? In the box on the top. Okay, do we have T1? Yeah. What is it? Do we have r? What is it? No. I need to bracket it. Why do I need to bracket it? Because it's a negative. So it's in a fraction, you need to bracket it. When it's negative, you need to bracket it. That's why I just bracket it no matter what, because then I'm not worried about brackets or no brackets. Even if it's positive, I just bracket it. Just makes me happier. What's the n over here? Nope, because remember the minus 1 is down here, so we can't subtract from it like we could in the other equation. And then on the bottom, and again, you don't need to bracket, but I just do it because then I'm in the habit of always bracketing r. But again, if you can see on the bottom what's going to happen, don't bother bracketing it. Now, you can simplify the bottom if you want to before typing it in because it makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to. But if your brain can see the -4, -1, what's going to happen on the bottom? It's going to be -5. So if you wanted to just go with -5, great. I'm going to go with this and tell you exactly what you need to type in. You need to start with a -1. Where's the negative key as opposed to the subtraction key? On the bottom. Okay? So the -1, open bracket, -4, close bracket, hat 8, subtract 1, close bracket. And I'm just pausing there. Do you see a difference in the symbols between the negatives and the subtraction? The negative should be shorter and higher. The subtraction should be longer and further down. Okay, divide by. Open bracket. I forgot the bracket at the very beginning, didn't I? I did exactly what I told you not to do because I didn't write it. I know, because I'm visual. See if I don't see it. So just clear that. Let's pretend we never did that. Let's go back to the beginning. Open bracket. -1. Open, open. -4. Close. Hat 8. Come out of the exponent if you need to. -1. Close, close. Divide by. Now you can just put -5 if you can see that calculation. If not, type what you see. Open, open. -4. Close. Subtract 1. Close. If you got an error, pick go to, and it flashes on what it says the error is. And typically it's a negative versus a subtract or a missing bracket. So if you ever get an error, go to and it flashes, and usually it's like, hey, this is the mistake. When you get the error that gives you 2 things, the second one is go to. On the bottom? On the top, because the 8 has to apply to the negative. If you don't, the number will be negative and we need it to be positive. No. No. Did everyone get an error? Then I must have missed something somewhere in there. What is it flashing on? You got it? What did you get, just so we can know?
You're so cool.
13,107. Did anyone else get that? Okay. Do you want me to read through it again? Sorry? I'm confirming. I'm assuming so. Because you're going to have 16,000 something, but then you got some negatives in there. So it's got to be lower. because these are the brackets in it, and this is because it's negative. So that's why there's 2 here. Jill, do you have new operating system or old operating system? When you type the division for a fraction, does it give you nice little boxes to put stuff in, or does it just give you a slash? Okay, so clear it out, and I'll read it out for you. Okay, so open bracket, -1, open, open, -4, 1 close, hat 8, -1 subtract 1, close, close, divide by, open, open, -4, close, subtract 1, close. Enter.
Brenda, that was a cool trick. There's a thing that you can get the fraction. It's just alpha y equals.
Like, does that work on every calculator?
Yeah,
What?
alpha y equals.
What?
Alpha y equals and the first one.
Okay, alpha y equals, and I get my stat plot. I think because you guys have new operating system. Yeah, this is like old operating system, but we have a mix of operating systems, that's why I give you. So if that works for you, great. Then do it because it's easier. Yes, I do. Because it can be. See, I still got stat plot. What was I doing wrong? Oh, I think I did second function. Oh, that's new. That's new. Yeah, this is old. And it's got a fractal on the other side. It's kind of worn off, but you know. Questions? Natasha, I'm going to ask you to leave, please. So sleepy time, bye-bye. Questions on this one before we go on? What was different with this example than 1 and 2? We weren't given n. So when you come across a question where you're not given n, it's going to look exactly like this, a 2-stepper. Oh, the dreaded long word problem. Read to read. What's it about? Medicine. That's all you're going to get on read to read, and that's A-okay, because what your brain is doing is recalling everything it knows about this situation. Okay, what would you like to highlight? Okay, find the connecting word. What does that mean? What is it connected to? So what is that telling you in math language? It's T1. Okay, next number? Yeah, it's in words, but it's halved. What is that telling you? That's going to be your R value. Next number. Yeah, 7 days I would probably do. What information is that giving you? That's n value. Okay, question word is how many, and what do we want to know? How many what? How do you know the difference between the TN and the SN? Does the question want to know how much they received on the 7th day or how much they received over all of the days? It's implied it's all the days. So how much did the patient receive, assuming all of the days put together? If they wanted the specific day, they would say, how much did he receive on the 7th day or on the 7th treatment or after the 6th treatment? This one, we're assuming it's an SN. Okay, let's hope we have enough information. Formula is SN equals, yes, 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 yes. There are technically 2 different formulas for a sum. And I'm going to show you the second one, which you don't need to know, and I'm going to tell you why that you don't need to know it. But there's actually 2 formulas. So if you were to Google geometric series, you're going to see there's 2 different formulas. Here's the other formula. Oh, I totally screwed it up already. See, and I'm right brain or left brain need to white out. Can't scribble. Here's the other formula. You don't need to know it. I just like to throw it out there because, again, if you were to Google this to try to watch a YouTube video on this, you might see they're going to use this formula. It's T1. Just my whiteout kind of got in the way there. What's the difference between these? They've just flipped the top and the bottom. And so why? I don't know, because they can. So sometimes you'll see both, sometimes you'll see this. I just don't want you to freak out if the book is using this one. You can flip it, it doesn't matter.
Would it still be the same answer?
Absolutely.
Which one do you prefer to use?
I don't care. I always use this one, but I'm just throwing out there is another one. Sometimes they flip it. Okay, do we have T1? What is it? Do we have R? A half. What number is a half? Yeah, so if you want to use the decimal, you can use the decimal. If you want to use the fraction, you can use the fraction. I'm thinking you probably want the decimal. What is N? Again, on the bottom, if you can just see that that's going to be negative 0.5, then type that in. If you're like, no, I don't want to think about that, then don't. Type it in the long way. Completely up to you. Okay, fingers crossed, everyone can get the answer on their own with their calculator. By the way, these are never non-calculator questions. I'm seeing some happy faces.
I was like, crossing my face.
What do we get? Point, sorry, I didn't hear point. 0.9 if we round to 1, are we okay with that? Units. Like if you got that, you need to high five someone because you did that on your own and I didn't say anything and you got it, so like high five them. If you didn't, later, because you probably don't want to stop me now, bring that to me and we will look at it together, but keep that on your screen so I can see what's going on. How are you feeling so far on this stuff? Yeah, I told you scary, but it's okay. Last one, number 5. And I want you to read the cartoon first, which I know it's a little tiny, but I'll blow it up here because it makes me really, really happy. Like it actually said Thompson in the cartoon, except it was Mr. But whatever, it says Thompson. I was pretty excited. Like famous made it into a cartoon. Only a math teacher would give homework like that. So you win the lottery, yay! Yay! You win the lottery. I'm sensing you're humoring me. You have a choice between 2 prize options. Option 1, they'll pay you $1 today. $2 a year from today, $4 2 years from now, and so on for 20 years. Option B is they'll just give you $1 million today. Which option should you choose?
Isn't it the one that today? Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, I was about to say,
Pretty sure. It was in like Kimmy Schmidt, like Unbreakable, this question.
Which option should you choose?
I feel like it's gonna be A, but
it's going to be yes, but I'd rather have $1 million.
Well, can we prove that maybe it's going to be A? Let's prove it. Let's prove it.
I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be A, but Kimmy Schmidt said it's B. So good.
Is this a TN or an SN? Why is it an SN? Yeah, we want all that money. We just don't want the amount in 20 years. We want it all. Do we have T1? Do we have R? Why is it 2? Because it's doubling. Do we have N? That's not the N I would like to use. 20, because they're paying you for 20 years. Because it's 1 year, and then it's next year, and then so there's 20 years you're getting payments.
Oh, a year from today. Oh, never mind. I thought it said a day.
And we're getting ours just by how much it's called.
Yep. Yeah. Now be smart. Don't type that in. Why do you not need that? Because it's just 1. And on the bottom, don't type the bottom, because it's going to be 1, and anything divided by 1 is itself.
Okay, I'd go with option A because if you had $1 million in the bank, the interest would add up to more than this total amount.
Depends what interest rate they're giving you.
I guess, but
If they're giving you 0.1% of interest, not so good.
maybe you should switch banks.
Yeah, point was like what's the lottery company might not be around for 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I still wouldn't.
1 million. Ooh, 48,000. 575, looking for confirmation? So which should you choose really comes down to mathematically or logically. Mathematically, you should choose A. But in the real world, sometimes mathematically isn't the right answer. What should you choose? It totally depends on you. Do you want the $1 million right now to spend it, or do you want it to be given out in sections so that you don't spend it all at once? Do you want to take the $1 million and invest it and hope you're going to make more than 48,000 or not? Completely up to you. 1 year, we went through all the different possibilities why you might pick A over B, and the student said, well, I'm going to pick B because I'm 15 right now, and in 20 years I'm going to be 35, and that's almost dead, so I totally want the money now. Like, listen, do not tell a middle-aged woman that 35 is almost dead. Do not. Not appropriate.
You should choose B mathematically because if you invest that $1 million, and the lowest I've ever seen a bank give an interest is 2.6.
Oh, no, a savings account is 0.1% right now. Yeah, that would be a locked in, maybe a GIC, but it depends what prime rate is, and prime fluctuates day to day. Yeah, my savings account right now, I'm getting 0.1%. That's it, like a normal savings account. Yeah.
$1 million and then invested it over 20 years, you'd have like way more.
It depends, right? What if the stock market crashed in 10 years? Then you've, right? So, just again, the point of that is 35 is not old and almost dead. Do not think that. Shame on her.